Alright, it's time to tell this story. I've been putting this off and procrastinating on this for quite some time, and I thought, stuff it. It's time to actually share the story of how I got myself into a really dark place and ended up going to rehab 4 weeks back in May 2023, only a couple of months ago. I'm only 60 days into my recovery from drug addiction and alcohol addiction, and it was a surprise to a lot of people. I've always been this person that put out a confident, enthusiastic, happy, successful version of myself. I've been in business for 10 years. I've authored 7 books. I'm working on a new one now, really documenting the recovery journey called Silent Treatment, which I'm hoping to put out later this year. And, you know, I've invested over $1 million in developing apps, and I've run $1 million plus consulting business for years and years. And I got myself the big house and the cars and the collections and the hobbies and the toys and, you know, all this stuff. And what I realized is all of that was there to fill a hole and avoid the feelings that were actually deep inside of me forever. And it started at a very young age. I was a tiny kid. I got bullied a lot at school. I never told anyone about it. I had a lot of abandonment trauma. I was emotionally suppressant. Started drinking alcohol at the age of 10. My dad was always a collector of wine and spirits, and I used to be able to steal plenty of that. Started smoking weed when I was 11 or 12. And I used this as a coping strategy for my entire life, right up until I got a medical marijuana license, and it got to a point where I was smoking 20, 30 pipes a day, just perma-stone, just to function, just to get through the day. And it made me realize that sitting in that place of silent suffering was so damn painful that I really needed some help. In November last year, I found myself in a deeply depressed and very dark state. And I was having more suicidal thoughts than I cared to admit or share with people. I had relationship breakdown and put my wife in so much pain, and I kept all of this hidden from the world, and it just got too much. And it got to a point where we saw a marriage counselor, and I'll never forget when she said, "Oh, so how you doing with your addiction?" And I said, "Yeah, no, I'm all fine, I'm all good," which is so often what we say, and often what we say when we're suffering. And then she looked me dead in the eyes and she said, "Steve, you think you can solve this on your own? You got effing rocks in your head." She just stared me in the face. And then 2 weeks later, I found myself at the Buttery private rehab down in the Wollumbar, and I finally got to a point of dealing with the trauma, because I came to a realization that the opposite of addiction isn't sobriety. The opposite of addiction is connection, and that's what we're all really craving, and I never knew how to really get that. I learned about, you know, this undiagnosed ADHD that's been a part of my life for so long, and has caused so much pain, but also been such a gift to be able to use my mind in creative ways and take complex ideas and put them into the world, develop card games and gamification platforms and all this complex stuff. And same with, you know, having ASD and being on the spectrum and going through some testing at the moment around that, and again, just things lining up of why I always couldn't communicate well and why I always had these big feelings but didn't know how to handle them. And the reason I'm sharing this message is, as I've started to become more open about my story and attending NA meetings every week and connecting with other addicts and people that really get it, I'm starting to find that true connection, but also finding so many people reaching out going, "Man, me too, me too, me too." And that's what really prompted me to kind of start sharing my story more publicly. So grateful that I have a connection to my higher power, and God's moving in my life and bringing so much healing to my broken heart, and healing so much of the trauma that's been there just sitting underneath the surface for so long, that the only way I could survive the days and handle the pressure and keep going was always just through use of whatever it may be. Can be anything. And my great hope moving forward is that these kind of stories can empower other people to find those dark spots in their life and the traumas that need to be unearthed, and really help process the emotion through that, so that they can be comfortable and confident to be the authentic them and share a story that really aligns with who they are, and realize that they are a gift to this world, and that there is purpose in their life, and that there is meaning for their existence. And that's why I'm sharing this story. The analogy I want to leave you with is, if you're finding that you're in this constant state of struggle, it's like gardening, right? You might see these weeds growing up in the garden bed. Sometimes those ones with those real deep tap roots, you know, you can like snap them off at the top and at the surface. And they're invisible to the eye. You walk past the garden bed and it looks like it's all done, it's all taken care of. But that tap root's still there. And lo and behold, you know, you might white knuckle for a couple of weeks, but there it goes. It starts to grow again. It starts to show itself over and over and over and over again. I want you to know you cannot solve this on your own. Just like our marriage counselor said, this is a connection-based healing. This is through compassion, this is through understanding. But you know, as they say, you know, wounds are where the light lets in, and it's painful to unearth those roots and get to the cause and get to the bottom of it. But I want you to know it is so worth it. And that act of vulnerability, the act of courage to go, I need help and I need someone to be able to support me in this, is the most powerful thing you can ever do. And if you want to tap into a higher power and start to really connect with God and have spiritual healing along the way, these nudges, these little moments, these little tiny decisions that compound either in a really beautiful way or in a really destructive way. And I'm just so grateful that I didn't end my life, and that I'm not stuck in addiction, and I'm about to hit my 60 days clean and sober, and I want to keep documenting this journey and get my next little NA badge and all this sort of stuff, right? Like, I'm so damn grateful that there is healing in this, but it starts by asking for help. It starts by getting honest, not only with yourself, but with other people that you can trust. And it's about finding that support network that you know can really get you there. So this is just the start of my story, but I've got plenty more stories to go. Yeah, I hope this is an encouraging message for those that are out there that are in silent suffering. And yeah, ask for help. It's the best thing you can ever do.